Thanks for staying with us. So before we launch into the main concern for today, we just want to go through some of the stories that have happened, some of the things that caught our interest during the week, that's personally for each of us. So, for example, this morning I was reading the story about the Olympic medalist who is trying to raise money for surgery. Let me just quickly go through that story. I saw it in Punch. Okay. And I just feel like every time, even though people will go ahead and say, people should plan, which is true, people should plan for their retirement. But I always find that in Nigeria, oftentimes people that have done a lot for the country, sports-wise, arts-wise, towards the end of their life, they're literally like grappling and looking for help to do the things that they need to do. So
I'm smiling because we are isolating, a few people. Yeah, the artists, the performers, the very prominent and visible people amongst us, the sportsmen and women. I think it cuts across, after retirement for a lot of people. The thing is, if you haven't planned for the day, the time that you will no longer be very relevant, very active and buoyant, then things like that are likely to happen, especially when these sectors, where there are no planned strategies or things in place to take care of everybody, like putting some funds together, coming together to organize yourself way ahead when you become too feeble and too sick to work or to help.
Yeah. So the key lesson though is to make sure that you put in something that keeps generating money afterwards, to be just financially literate. So if you're not financially literate now, to find experts, look, you're cashing out now. Sure. How will I begin to continue to cash out 10, 20 years after, my stardom or whatever is going on, not as relevant as I am at the moment. So.
And also looking at that, it's the aspect of giving back, whose life have you touched while you were up there? What have you deposited?
Yeah, that's important, but I always tell people that with humans, you can't always expect, so the fact that you have done something for people, which I'm not saying that you shouldn't, don't expect that it will come back and do the same for you. You have deposited in their life and you've moved on. I always tell people, when you do anything for someone, it can be hard, but move on to God. You just look onto God to be the ones to reward you, because if you look onto humans,
but God is going to use human beings for you.
Yes, he will use somebody, you can use somebody else to bless you, but to say that, and because we now have a sense of entitlement, so if I do something for you now, and I keep saying that, oh, Helen should pay me back, look at all the things, I'm going to hold on to that, and I will never be able to focus on all the other things that God will use other people to do in my life. So do that, and then that sense of entitlement is also, what this. In fact, now that we're even talking about family feuds, we'll also talk about entitlement and how some parents will just like, I've done all of these things for you. Why are you not?
Why are you not doing back?
Doing back?
So what would you say about the theory of sowing and reaping?
Yeah, that for me, that's my theory. Because so into people's lives because you can help. Because you see this topic, in fact, maybe we should take it for another day. Because the reason why I say that is because I feel like sometimes people give people to manipulate people. Not necessarily from a good place. I want you to call me a good man. And I will go back and say, that is why many abusers, narcissistic people, they get away with a lot of things because they're philanthropists. They will give you, so they feel like because I've given you, I've blackmailed your loyalty. You can't talk because you've collected bread from me. So even if you see me that I'm stabbing someone and I'm doing mago and I'm doing rubbish, you can't say anything because you have benefited from my largesse. But unfortunately, I am not wired that way. I'm sorry, even if you buy me a house and I say
shouldn't be that.
So, but that's the thing, though. So that was with the sowing. So many people feel like because I've sown that good deed into your life, what I should reap from you is blind loyalty. Don't talk about my bad behavior. Don't talk about anything. And then there are some people also that give because they, in that capacity and opportunity to give. Yeah. And then you're also expecting, so for example, I will use my own personal example. My grandfather was a philanthropist. So he would go to the village every time, that's my maternal grandfather from Edo State. And my granny was telling me of how you know, he's late now, but she's still alive. And their living room will be full of 22 strangers that she doesn't even know. Maybe some distant relative. He can go to the village and say, oh, this person is not going to school. He feels like he should go to school. This person should learn the trade, and he'll bring them to Lagos and all of that. So when my grandpa, God bless, you know, his soul, he lived a very good, healthy life, 107. But at some point when he was ill, and we, the grandchildren, we could really take care of him. But my grandma was like, oh, some people did not come to look for him and all of that. And so I said to her, I said, they're not, in my personal view, they're not entitled to. He has done his bit. He's living his full life. His children are well. But to begin to look onto those people and say that because my grandfather did this for you, you have to come back by force to do it. If they do it, fine. If they don't do it, you move on with your life. If not, you just have bitterness and you just keep holding on to what you should not hold on to. But I think I'm eating into the show, so
that's excellent.
Let's go into our conversation.
Is there an update on bringing back our brothers and sisters from
in Sudan? Yes, there is. So you know, they've made some effort. I know that Air Peace, for example, took a plane there to try and bring them some people. Even though I was reading about some people that were going through the desert, their bus broke down. But they're making more efforts to bring them in. Even though I feel like the efforts was slow, they could have done it much earlier to try and, you know, a bit late. And it's like the Nigerian thing. Every time it's just always like a knee-jerk reaction before we go and do the things we need to do. But hey, let's just commend them that they've done it anyway. So. Okay, that's it.
All right.
Okay.
So we go on to the show.
Yes.
And Excel is here.
Yes, our Spritotherapist is here. Do you know the first time that someone said when he sent his profile and he put Spritotherapist, and then someone was like, please, what does it mean when you say someone is a Spritotherapist? So he's here today, so he should tell us what when you say that you're a Spritotherapist. What does it mean? Okay,
you want to get to it right away, or
yeah,
we'll take
I
a
think
quick
no. There's no need for a break. Let's just get straight to it. So let's just put him on the spot.
Okay. You like the spotlight, don't you?
Yes, I do occasionally, but I would rather be quiet somewhere.
So let's do it formal. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Again.
It's good being here, and thank you for being part of this family.
So Fumi, ask.
What does it mean?
Yes, okay, so simple. I get this question a lot. Even sometimes I almost get red flag.
Oh, really?
But you know, it simply is when you say spirit and therapy. So it's a simple way of going beyond just psychology to go into spiritual things to help that to bring people to awareness and to get healing when it's necessary. That is all.
You know, because when you go spiritual,
yes,
you don't expect to see someone this trendy. You're probably looking for
how do you want to
have a red appearance that
okay, don't worry. Maybe when I come next, I have a dread, for example. But I think, see, man has become to believe that there's a subconscious and there's a part of us we can't explain. On that reason, everybody have it. Everybody have the spirit of soul, and everybody have to believe that we have the spirit and body. And I think what happens is that we deal more with our body, going around. Some people go to gym. Some people don't care about their body. Some people get religious to deal with the soul when they pass on this world to the outside place. But a lot of people don't actually exercise their spirit. And they don't deal with that spirit. So, and people try to conflating soul with spirit. They're quite different. So what people who are religious do is that they are more concerned about the other life. Which is about your soul most times. But the spirit helps to connect both. It gives a deeper understanding. It gives a deeper realm. So I say to my client most time, I said, I should give you a service such that you don't need me again to see me every time. Then an mandate that you have to go to the spiritual place of you where you can hack into your spirit to resolve and solve some problems, and also have some level of direction of where to go and want to get something done.
Because I agree with you there. A lot of people are beginning to think from activities of now and before that the spirit thing, some people take it to extreme.
Exactly.
And they become so dependent on their spiritual fathers or leaders and mothers. And they have forgotten that the essence is their connection with the bigger man up there. You know, not going through someone else. So each time they have crisis, they run. And if the person is no longer there,
when the person die, they completely die. Because of their dependency.
Wow.
But this thing, even though I feel like we're now branching into another topic, but when you said that you told your client, for example, that if they, you want to treat them such a way that you cannot, they don't have to come back to you. That's not very Nigerian. Every Nigerian wants them to depend on
so totally complete.
Business.
Totally complete. And like I said to them, if you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing, people will keep coming. People will seek help. And I said, see, what the service we're offering, it's about the change life. And the change life should affect other people also around them. Okay. That's a total change. Okay? So I then say that we need also to be independent. Unless man, when he's dependable, is like he's still under some level of bondage. So he's free. So you see somebody give food, or they permit me to use what, he get paid salary. But doesn't mean that the person is independent or financially free. So to give them is also you giving. And just a philosophy of what we were saying before the program. Once you keep giving, you keep getting.
True.
And I love that. And I've seen that. So that's why I've seen clients who have now become therapists, have become counselors, are doing. And that is the way it should be. It should be progressional. It should be multiple.
Yeah, because there's room for more. The more, the merrier.
The more we spread around.
Okay, so can we come to the main issue for today? The family show. This is what today with John and Helen is. And today we're looking at crises and feuds in the family. And my first question is, how intense and how bad can this be? Are you faced with this on a regular basis?
Yes, it's a regular thing. And as much as we know that two people who are friends have conflict, especially in the world of social media, there's a lot of competition. So we are competing with the people we don't know, we have never met, on social media especially. Okay. And what you see on the social media is a transfer of what has been happening in our daily life, you know. So it's just social media, but there's a social life, and it's simple that. So in saying that, conflict within siblings is almost normal, and you look at from childhood. You know, you remember you hitting your brother, your sister, having some level of fighting as a baby now. Maybe as 2 years or 3 years. There's that normal, you know. And sometimes people will say, don't kill me, you people just sort yourself out. And guess what? They actually sort themselves out. You get it now? As a matter of fact, I do say to parents most times, when you see your children having disagreement, stop quickly interfering in any way or trying to want to resolve. They are also learning coping skills with themselves. Because at that point, they are innocent of themselves. They are innocent. And they love themselves. And
they probably don't even understand
what
it means to be a member or members of one family.
No, yes, I don't think.
They haven't gotten the grip.
They have the natural love. You get it? And that's why when you two siblings, maybe at the age of 4 or 5, fight themselves, and the other person come hit the other one quickly will provoke and want to hit back.
True.
Because the love is just actually there. And I've seen that most time, like going back to this I want to say now is, we need, that is almost normal phenomenon to happen among or within children and all of that. And parents try to want to intervene sometimes. And sometimes we are not helping them to grow with themselves and to understand each other. I'll give you a practical example. I've seen family who parents try to interject or try to want to resolve. When the parent is no more there, they can't actually cope with themselves.
Yeah, because the parents
because that is like a chain will connect them. Okay, so conflicting is good. Why is bad is how does it become toxic? Then you need to, as a manager, to help them at that point, and that's what we should do, to help them correct, because they are growing up with their personality, they are growing up with their differences and all of that. And I'll give you, for example, a child who will rather be too quiet and all of that. When the parent intervene when you have a conflict, you are making that child be so dependent on you. And I've had cases where a wife will be complaining, when we have conflict, my husband does not talk. He will not do anything. Even sometimes somebody is fighting me outside or hitting me outside. I need someone to stand up for him. No, that guy has grown up for somebody helping him to fight his conflict. Okay, so I want us to see what are the benefits and also the roots in that regard when we come to siblings rivalry. The only challenge it becomes is that when they now grow up, is the conflict within them edifying them or destroying the bond. That's where there's a problem. especially when it comes to, you see family when it comes to will reading, for example. You see family when it comes to giving even themselves. You see family when it comes to even their children trying to relate with each other. So it's a very toxic one sometimes when it becomes that big. And I've seen family names change because of rivalry. So people change their name. For example, my story, very practical. My son name is Adeleye.
Yes.
Well, if you notice in the front of my name is called Samuel as a company name.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't grow up to know Samuel. I grew up to know Adeleye as my son name. So I started through my spiritual journey, I discovered that something was wrong. Okay. So I went further to ask a relative of mine who were quite connected. I knew was going to more detailed than my father. Then I asked the question. I said, tell me about your story and the son in Adeleye. And she then told me a story, practical one. She said, when she was growing up, as a child in primary school, this is my father's mate. He says, our son name is Samuel, not Adeleye. Okay. I said, how come? So he said, yeah, we bear Samuel. Then my grandfather, who was a cocoa and timber seller, he was the head of the cocoa and timber seller. Then the Ondo State, there was no Ekiti State. Okay. So quite rich, wealthy guy, needed a loan. So he went to his young brother and said, do you know what? Can you give me a loan? And I'm going to use my house as a collateral. So the guy said, okay, no problem. He gave him the loan and the house as collateral. Because of the kind of business he does, I mean, he made the money back and he came back to give his brother. The money. At that point, his brother was living in his house and his children. And the brother said, watch out. No, well, I'm not giving the house.
This house I was giving up for
collateral. Yeah. So it's like the bank now saying, do you know what? Forget that collateral. I don't need it. And the guy said, no. His children also supported their father and said no. So later as my relative, my father's relative was growing up, because my grandfather had many wives as a rich guy. So then he told them the event that has transpired between him and his brother. Then the oldest one, who is also now passed, says, do you know, from henceforth, we are not going to bear Samuel. We are going to bear your name as our surname.
Oh, wow.
So they started bearing his first name as their surname. Yeah. So I saw that the surname itself originated from level of bitterness, anger, unresolved conflict. And I saw that change also in their life as a person.
Yeah, I know.
So then I added the Samuel as part of my name. So you could see how that could. So as I speak, I don't know those people again. Yeah, that's how bad that's come. I don't know them. Wow. Not only that, I have some distant relationship with my uncles as well. This is how this thing transfer over. So it's a quite deep one. Beyond that, I've seen in session where some people don't even talk to themselves, and they will never talk to themselves again. Yeah, and their children don't relate at all. God, and just end there. So what do we do? Because it's normal, like you've stated, it's very normal to do that. So how do we ensure, as parents now, that we do not, it doesn't escalate? So you've talked about not interfering. But what happens when two siblings, so for example, I know a woman who said that when her children were growing up, they were boys, that they will fight so much, she will have to go and get police to arrest them. In fact, she said one of the dramatic ways she does that, the police station now even knew her. She will run into the police station and say, oh, two people are fighting in the house, she doesn't know who they are. They will arrest them, and they had two sons. They will arrest them, put them. She said she would leave them in police station for like 2 days to say, you know what, you cannot kill me and everything. And that even as they now grow, even though now they get along quite well, but that was how at best she could manage the situation. So as a parent now, how do I ensure that if I notice that two siblings are always at each other, whether male and brother and sister, what do I do to ensure that it doesn't go? Okay, you see, looking at this case study as you've mentioned, we have to now be questioning what is the relationship between the father and the mother even first. Because most times children become what they see in the environment. What you see children behave is an expression of what they picked around, so they multiply it. Okay, so you have to ask, what is the relationship between the father and mother? Is there some level of conflict? Because sometimes the father and mother don't have to necessarily be hitting themselves. but there's an internal conflict. The pressure mentally affects a child, and the way a child spills it out to express it is physical, for example. So you have to check what is the foundation of that home. And more importantly, home also needs to have some level of structure. Okay, I'll give you this. A tribe here let me use practically a Yoruba tribe, for example, and that says that when you wake up, you have to prostrate. When you wake up, you have to kneel down and all of that. Just give you some level of respect. So it says with that structure also, which sometimes some people abuse. Now, say the first person in this house takes the leadership if this parent and as a firstborn. What we're trying to do as a culture was to show some level of structure. You get this now? Saying that automatically we know in this organization, if the CEO goes, who is the next? Yeah. Who is the next in management to take it up? So the home needs to have some level of structure. It helps. So sometimes you are angry, but you can't talk at your boss because you understand structure. You get it now? But you are pissed off. Yeah. So the structure is to make sure there's discipline and we get the result. Very important.
And there's hierarchy.
There's a hierarchy and the process and all of that. So all homes need to have some level of structure. And this practical I learned from my neighbor. So when she's very local as a Yoruba person. So when the siblings have conflict and they disrespect, the elder one will discipline the other one, and she just watch. So she'll say, you discipline that. And what she was trying to infuse is to say, listen, there's order here, and you don't go against it. You know, as I speak, the woman has passed. The order reigns in that home.
Yeah, it has laid a very strong foundation.
That's it. You know, I had a friend who was a pastor friend of mine. When the guy misbehaved to his wife, the wife does not call the parent. He calls the sister. The other sister says, no, I know the person that will do it. I don't need to. When he calls her, when that comes, where are you? Come here now. The guy behaves regardless of the church member he has. They are married because he has some level of structure. And I think that we're eroding those wisdom of the old to build some level of structure. Yeah. Structure, people grow up and fit with the structure. That's why when a Nigerian gets, he can drive anyhow. But when he gets to Itro, he just behaves.
He just adjusts.
Because there's a structure. And more importantly, parents also need to show some level of love. Very critical. Children become the love they see. They are sponge, they become the love they see. I grew up with my brother, my only one brother. And am I a strong willed? Am I a strong willed? Yes, I'm a very strong willed. It's more likely that when there's a noise or the conflict somewhere, somebody fought and all of that physically, it's like my father said it was me. So my father walking there, I said, something is wrong here. It's you. As a way. My brother was one of the calm guy, you know, more very introverted even than me. But when I look back and I say, was it a conflict? Yes, there was some bit of conflict, you know, within us. But the guy just know. Even as now we're old, he gives me my respect as well. I give him respect because our parent improvised and we saw the love my parent has. Is there a time also where I felt my mother love the last son?
Yes. Because I was going to get to that question about how do parents manage their favorite children.
Okay.
How do you manage? Because I think as every parent,
because really, as he was talking about, apart from being favorite, maybe you should answer that first before I talk about the firstborn child.
Yes.
When we're talking about this.
Okay, maybe I should respond to that being favorite. You see. You know, when we're coming, I was really brainstorming on that, and I asked, it's more likely we have favorites as a human being. For example, there's your favorite shoe.
Who's there?
There's your favorite clothes.
Yeah.
There's some clothes, some people think, you'll be wearing this shirt now, throw it away. It's not that you don't want to throw it away, but there's a love and attachment to this particular shirt. For one reason, it could be the color, it could be where you buy it, it could be the fitting, it could be anything, and all of that. So there is more likely.
Because you throw it around.
That's it. It's how do you manage that? You know, the other day, a song was played somewhere. Then I said to my daughter, that's one of my lovely songs. Yes, I said, that's one of your favorite songs. She answered me, that's one of your favorite songs. And this and this and this song as well. So we will have that. But how do you manage it? And that's what we should be looking at. So the question is, how do we manage? The simple thing you need to do is that, like you say, you don't need to throw it at their face. You need to curve yourself when it's excess. For example, parent two, don't you see that one? Don't you see that one behave? Why is it you are the one that did and all of that?
If it was him or
if it was him, he would have done this.
Yeah.
Is it that you don't have a sense to borrow from that as a way?
That's very bad.
Those are very bad. At that point, you are being abusive. You could communicate that in a way and say, please, can you come here? You have strength in this and you do this. You are the best in this house. When it comes to fixing things in this house, I don't think you are the best. But when it comes to being studious with your book to fix your education, you know your brother does it better than you, which is better here. Can you also borrow a lesson from that? The same way I do tell your brother to borrow a lesson also to fix things like you fix it. At that point, you are trying to balance the equilibrium as well, and all of that. So at that point, sometimes parents just get lost. And they say, can you go and do that? Or I bought this, then you start to fix it. No, you may have forgotten. I say, no, I have your own. As long as I forgot. Or I'm going to get you this at this time. So parents must be conscious of it. And sometimes we don't have to blame parents because some children are just extraordinary. Some child pay attention to you as the parent than others. You get it? So when you say, for example, I'm sick, one is sitting and say, Mommy, are you okay? And it's touching your body. The other one say, Mommy, okay. And she's gone.
He's gone, yeah.
Sorry, and
sorry. Even someone I forgot to sorry. I know that it's gone to just to play. That's your personality. Because how we manage our personality is very key.
This is really going beyond, the scope that we boxed it, I think we should take a break so that you can take a breather yourself. And when we come back, there's an aspect of this that has been, haunting me, if I can use that word, the first child syndrome. And in an environment where we are, what if the first child is not in a position, to be the first child financially and all of that? How does this help? All right. We'll take a quick break.
Yeah, we'll take a break.
All right.
Oh, right.
Please, we hope you have been enjoying, the discussion so far. And we'll take a quick break just about now. It's Today with John and Helen. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Thank you for staying with us, and we're still discussing managing sibling rivalry. Fortunately or unfortunately, no one gets to choose the kind of family they are born into, what happens in that family, but how the parents, especially because the parents are the leaders, and our counselor talked about structure, so they're like the MD CEOs of the family, is how they manage it. But before we went on the break, Helen was asking a question about the firstborn syndrome. What were you trying to?
No, because for me, like he has shared a lot of personal experiences. I have had this experience that, especially in an extended, the polygamous setting, and people come out to verbalize it at burials of their parents to say, Daddy's gone, Mommy's gone. This is probably the last bus stop for
all of us.
All of us as a family. And this is as a result of carried over crisis and feud. How does one get here? And then what happens to that family? That name, the father, everything the father worked for and the mother worked for the family to be together even after they have gone. How did they get there?
You see, what you just asked is a very big and deep question because especially me who grew up in Lagos, you have seen loads of family who have entered crisis, wealthy family, known family in this state. And when they pass on, then you see the real truth of what has been happening in the family as well. And like you also then mentioned before the break about the first
son, the first child.
How does it relate?
Especially when the person is not.
I think that we need to grow up to know that what makes you first in the real life is about competency.
It's not the position.
It's not only a position. In school, you only be first if you do well.
Yeah,
by grade.
True.
It's competency.
Yeah.
At work, you'll be promoted based on your competency. You'll be employed and put in higher position based on your competency. Then it's not conflict into the natural law of when you give birth to somebody first, and you automatically enter that position. It's all good. However, we then need to put the competency in or on the firstborn. Very important. We need to do. And it must be done by the parents also trying to show them how to do it. And I'll give you this I've seen so well.
Without putting pressure on them.
Yes, I'll give you this one that I've seen so well. We do wrong sometimes in Africa. We let the firstborn feel automatically that it takes the position of leading a home when they are fast, not necessarily correct. Because we have seen in most cases whereby the second or the third is a stronger leader than others. And based on probably natural gift, maybe on them growing to be like, because it's about leadership. And leadership is not just born. There's a lot of things that goes into leadership to become a leadership. It's like putting on some chemicals together to make something happen. So therefore, I think it's then very important that parents should be more conscious to train their children about their departure. Very, very important. Most parents train them because they are just training their children, but they don't put into and you see it globally. There are businesses that have lived more than 200 years.
Sure.
Family businesses. Only because there's consciousness about this and this is where we're going. Very, very critical. So parents then need to put that influence on the children to know this is a structure, and they like you go back to what we're saying, and this is how it's going to be run, even in my debt, and this is what we're going. A very rich mentor, a rich mentor of mine told me about how the parent told them when they were young that once I give you your first degree, no more degree. As a matter of fact, you're going to go and get your job, not my organization. And all the children are doing fantastic work. Their personal business. The man left big real estate. The big real estate that the children even don't try to go and be looking for money in the real estate at all. Because they themselves are doing fantastic work in the real estate and doing other things. And the guy told me, he said, you know what? My father taught us. And I saw the younger one investing for the older one also on real estate because they depend on themselves, to get some things done. Only because of the structure. So parents need to consider their living. So I just say this, that you have to mirror yourself and say, you know what? Just imagine I'm dead now in that house. And you have to leave that presence. So when you see your children, that's okay, take yourself off them and watch them.
What will play out?
So at that point, if you are now honest, because one of the things that happen to parents also, they are not honest enough with themselves. It starts from when your child is trying to walk, it falls. Let that child fall. You're going to stand up. Just guide them so that they don't injure themselves. Let them fall. So when you now know the truth, if you can face that, you then beginning to correct a lot of things. As a matter of fact, I've seen this. Some parents can't correct again. They need external help.
True.
And I've seen this. Some parents can't correct, they just need external help to help them do that. So that they can live a better life.
Because of time, so that I want you to give I always say tips. Even though yes, I feel like some parents need to go and see like a counselor or get people. But if you could share practical hands-on tips now for parents and then for siblings on how they should manage themselves, because I will also feel like some, like we've also stated, some sibling rivalry is ignited by parents. You're comparing each other, you're showing that you have one favorite and everything. So what practical, as we wrap up this segment, what practical steps should parents begin to take to ensure that their home is?
Okay, the first thing as a parent is first, know thyself.
Know thyself.
Very critical. Know who you are and how you manage people. Try to explain to yourself and justify to yourself how you deal with your children and tell the truth to yourself. Very important. Now, in knowing yourself is you also, and it's very easy. You first check, how have I been dealing with my siblings myself? Okay. So what you see people do is that they transfer into into their children. How do, for example, God bless my mother for this. She did one thing, and I will ever stand with that. My mother is very honest to the details. If you are wrong, expect him to say you are wrong. She doesn't know how to, and all of that. She's a fantastic lover. I mean, when they say I'm a lover, I think I pay more for my mom. So, then I see him deal with his sibling like that. So you just have to offend, and maybe somebody's wife called and said this and that and all of that. You expect him. I mean, he has one sibling very close to him, and that they are not friends. in the sense that he will always say the truth. She will always say the truth, and the guy don't like the fact.
The truth is one.
The truth is one. So, very important. So, within us also, my mother deal with all like that. So, you should be expect that if you go wrong, she will not say because I like this one and this, she said the truth. So, herself, by our core value, truth comes part of our core value. Love comes part of our core value. So parents need to know themselves.
Okay.
What value do I stand for? Because that's what we show. So a parent, for example, we rather want to say half-truth. We deal with the children with half-truth and not with the truth. A parent will try to avoid conflict. We sometimes watch the siblings have conflict and try to careful to mediate in what is happening. The children automatically, that weakness will show up with the children. So when you then know that self, how will this myself influence positive or negative on these children? Very critical. At that point, if you are then married, for example, a married person, you have to look if the other one has strength where you have a weakness. And let the other one who has strength play the role. I have noticed this with older people that have sibling problem or they have problem with their children. While they were growing up, one try to challenge the authority of others when it comes to correcting the children most times. You get it now? And this now generate. And most times when children have that problem, I found that the other one said, you know, I was saying this and I said this, but my wife will not. I don't say, is my husband, is that my daughter? Look at it today as we speak. You get it now? So know thyself is very critical. And more importantly, family need to build a vision. Have a vision.
Family vision.
Family vision, family mission, core value, where are we going, what we stand for, what are our core value, what do people know this family for? And if you do this in family, it's forbidden, for example, and there should be consequence in homes. So why you see home generates that there's no consequence.
And reward.
And reward as well. So when you know that, no, and you do that as a child because there's a formative time as a child you need to do. So when you put that structure, it helps to shape that. And more importantly, we also need to learn, family needs to also learn to how to love publicly and how to love other people.
Affirmation.
Because it's quite important that in a home when there is deep love, you don't see that crisis. They defend themselves and they fight themselves. Very important. So when there is no, not to for the siblings as a more critical.
In a minute.
Yes.
In a minute.
Yes, for the siblings.
Time,
I think it's very important as this. Let me just say direct to older siblings who have conflict with themselves. Always know this, that what you do today is going to multiply tomorrow. What you do today is going to cause more crisis tomorrow. It's a decision you have made. And everybody is going to pay consequence for that decision. The family that are toxic and all of that, regardless of how toxic they are, try to extend love. Try to communicate to your children that this is a company, but we love them. We'll pray for them. We'll show them by sending gifts to them. You get it now? You have to call sometimes. You know, some people do that, they don't make other people call. Please call those people. Check on them and know how they are doing. Most often I check with them. If you can't text or discipline, send a text and show some level of love, you know. So at least they will know that we made effort. Because what pays in life is effort.
Yeah.
And all of that. And that helps a lot for those who have some toxic relationship.
Okay. The family must not disintegrate.
Yeah.
It must not.
And cooperation and conflict resolution.
You see,
and all of that.
Most people get success first by selling to their family.
Yeah, that's your first.
Most people get help first with
your
family. Wow. So strong family are more likely to have good marriage, success life, and good health.
Thank you very much. It's almost like we shouldn't let you go, but you know, first segment is up next. So thank you for your time. Thank you for always answering us when we, you know, when
I really
we call.
appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we're grateful for your time. So Ferry is up next talking about anxiety and depression and how we can stop it from overtaking our lives. So just before Ferry comes up, we'll take the fitness segment with Dolly. Please stay with us.